Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, the New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me. I'm Rob. Let's get the show on the road.
Oh, yes. Again, it's not
This
a
road
show.
show.
We can't do it. We can't do it. I would love to have a mobile show. That'd be amazing.
We can.
Oh,
Two Giant Goofballs. If you go to the Patreon and all our other accounts and buy me a cup of coffee and sit the Hooper Stars and all that, the Uber Stars, if you will, we will do a cross-country RV show.
Let's go ahead and rent an RV. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
If you rent it, people will come. I think that's the rule.
It's like Feel the Dream.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what we're going for here. So
multiple dreams.
As long as it doesn't turn to a wet dream. Whoa, hello.
Okay. That's another type of video.
That's another type of video, exactly. So, yeah, guys, we got a lot of Giants news to go over with you. Listen, I know it's off season. I know not a lot of big breaking news is going to happen these next couple weeks here, but there's still stuff. There's still tea leaves being shown to what's going to go happen in this off season and the draft overall. We still have one of our assistants also up for a head coaching job too, so you never know what's going to happen there. So, let's get right into it here with the first bit of news we got here for the Giants. And Brian Daboll point blank talked about what he's looking for in a QB. And I thought that's kind of an interesting thing because let's be honest, guys, guess what we're looking for this offseason? A quarterback. I know it's a secret.
Oh my.
I know. Breaking news. Put the graphic up. Breaking news. But
wait a minute.
Yeah. So talking about evaluating quarterbacks, and what he's looking for. This was actually a video that was recorded by Art Stapleton of the Bergen Record. It was said to a bunch of reporters, but he happened to be the one to post the video I saw, so I want to give him the credit. Daboll said, "You look for accuracy. It's leadership. It's accuracy." Now, what I thought is very interesting is obviously we're looking at getting a quarterback here in this draft coming up here. I think that's a pretty well-known thing at this point here. And who in this draft is leadership and accuracy? Oh yeah, Shedeur Sanders, the guy I've been saying all freaking last couple how many weeks now that the Giants are going to find a way to get him. And like I said, you can't find a more accurate quarterback than him in college this year. Point blank, ridiculous accuracy. I said to clarify this year, ridiculous accuracy. Like I said, I know we talked about ourselves some questions we might have of him as far as his personality, but his teammates love him. And you've never heard a negative word of anybody at Colorado about him specifically. And he's been a leader on that team. So like I said, to me, that's what I look at. And he definitely has better accuracy than Cam Ward, who we've talked about before. The preference is probably Cam Ward for the two of us. But Sanders is the more accurate of the two.
Currently.
So, well, things obviously do change, Look at Josh Allen. He was a very inaccurate quarterback coming out of college. That obviously worked. Now, at the same point, you could also sit there and say that Josh Allen was drafted by the Bills with Brian Daboll. If Brian Daboll wanted an extremely accurate quarterback, don't you think he probably would have said something to the front office? So, now, don't get me wrong, they had veto power over him.
I was going to say, how much power did he have to say who he wanted? We've been saying that now for the past year, like, who created who? Was it Josh Allen creating Daboll? Was it Daboll creating Josh Allen? Like, who made who?
It's pretty obvious it's Josh Allen creating Daboll at this point. But, I mean, I'm just saying as far as who made that call, what decision, what part of that decision did Brian Daboll have? And we don't even know what kind of decision Joe Schoen had. He was assistant GM, not the GM. Again, these guys didn't have that say. But it's interesting that he said that. I'm looking for accuracy. And while in Buffalo, that's who they got was Josh Allen, who was, like I said, an extremely inaccurate quarterback in college. Let's be honest, he was a work in progress when they got him. Wyoming isn't exactly the powerhouse school for quarterbacks or NFL players in general, but they didn't get that. They got him to be an accurate quarterback over time. Looking it up right now, his completion percentage his senior year was 56.3.
Oh,
Remember, he'd be very inaccurate in college. I had to look it up to verify the exact numbers. Daboll went on to say, talking about evaluating quarterbacks, he said, you watch all the games. It's not a cut up of games where you're looking at whether it's targets or run blocks. You're watching everything and seeing how they respond. How do they respond to 2-minute situations? How do they respond after an interception? What's the playbook like after a few bad plays or a few incompletions? Again, there's no exact science in it. It's obvious that there isn't. You do the best job you can. And I thought there's a couple interesting things on that, because I feel like a lot of people go ahead and talk about how it's like, oh, I watched this tape and I saw this and I saw that, when they don't have necessarily the football knowledge that a Brian Daboll does have. Listen, we may not like him as a head coach, but I don't think either Rob or I are going to sit here and say, we know more about football than Brian Daboll. Like, no.
That's a little silly.
Yeah, like, he's the head coach of an NFL team. He was the offensive coordinator for many teams. Like, he's definitely knows more on football than we do at that point. But
so he spent 2 decades in a career as football. So yeah.
And he can watch a game different than you and I can. Like, we can go there and go, oh, that doesn't make sense. But he can go, oh, well, that didn't make sense because that receiver ran this when he should have run potentially that based on the look. Like, he can look at things different than we can. Point blank. Like, we're fans. 100%. We're knowledgeable fans, but we're fans.
Well, I mean, we talked about it too. Like, when the Giants decided to, get Daboll, like, and there was like some behind the scene footage, like you went into like his household and like there was just stock plays that he made just on the wall. Like, hey, like, it's just not something he would pull out happily. Like, hey, this is what I thought about here and there, this, that. Like, so yes, he's very knowledgeable about the type of plays he wants to run.
Yeah, and the other thing is the situational stuff he talked about there. Because I feel like a lot of people look at the tape, but they don't necessarily look about what happened prior to the tape. And that's where he talked about the cut-up stuff. If you really want to get into a quarterback and you really want to analyze a quarterback, you can't just sit there and watch highlights.
No.
Because you have to see what led to that play. You have to see what happened after a bad play, not just the bad play. You need to look at all that kind of stuff there. And that stuff I feel like is never talked about enough for whatever reason. Like he said, how do they respond in 2-minute situations? I love judging a quarterback in 2-minute situations, guys. Point blank. 100%. Game's on the line. Your job is on the line. Are you going to buckle under the pressure? That tells me a lot about who you are mentally. But then you look at the fact of, like we said, what's the playbook look after a few bad plays or a few incompletions? That tells you more about the coach and his opinion of the quarterback than it does the quarterback itself to a certain degree, because if the coach trusts the quarterback, he's not going to change the playbook. If he goes, oh, here he goes, he's falling apart. Guys, let's change it up a little bit here. Then you know that there's something going on with the confidence level the coach has in the quarterback, which could potentially be a knock on the coach. Could be just a control freak that doesn't know how to let people have the opportunity to lead and succeed. But it also could be a showing on the quarterback itself, and you have to look at both those possible scenarios.
I was about to say, there's scenarios where, like, okay, listen, you're playing 2 solid great corners, and your 2 receivers are going deep coverage. Like, let's do a lot of play action, and like some people say it's knocking the quarterback because he can't throw the ball deep, or is it the coach's decision?
Yep.
Or can the quarterback just not throw the ball deep?
Yeah, and that's sometimes you do run into that problem. That's for sure. He also said, how do they respond after interception? Another great way of knowing how do they respond to pressure? How do they respond to, adversity? Because let's be honest, guys, there's no time frame that there's not adversity in football. That's just, life in the NFL. Look at a guy like Eli Manning, not to just use him because he's an ex-Giant here, but it's the perfect example. Like, how many times would people complain when he was playing? Oh, here he is with that dopey look in his face again after throwing an interception. It wasn't that it was a dopey look. He just didn't faze him like that. Not to say wasn't upset with himself that he wouldn't want to take it back when he got an interception, but he wasn't the guy that would sit there and beat himself up over it to the point that it would affect him the rest of the game. And there are some guys who have trouble coming back from that.
Oh, look at you, Philip Rivers.
Oh, Phillip Rivers is don't meet a Phillip Rivers. The poor guy, the only one of the big three from 2004 without a ring. I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, listen,
He's got 30 kids, but still,
great fantasy football quarterback. Great, put you up the yards. Very high strung.
Yes,
and that's something you evaluate. Like, you put that up there, right? So you look at Eli. He goes,
yeah, no response. Or did you freeze? I can't tell if you froze or not, Rob. I think you froze. Anyway, Brian Daboll on talking about if he enjoys the process of analyzing quarterbacks. Went ahead and said, I love doing it. I love evaluating quarterbacks. I love meeting with the quarterbacks. It's an awesome position to work with, and it's a really fun position to evaluate. As we get Rob back there. And it's funny because you're talking about Eli Manning, like having this face, like, and I'm like, you quick pause right at that moment. I didn't realize he lost you to like 30 seconds into it. I'm like, he's doing a really good pause there. Staying so still. I can't believe it.
He's an actor.
We will mime on the weekends, perhaps. Goes to Central Park. Like, I'm stuck in a box.
My Wednesday gig now. That's why we're kind of late. Sorry.
Well, so Brian Daboll's not the only one talking lately. Joe Schoen also gave a lot of comments and said the Giants were open to anything at 3, which is interesting because we talked about it. This is that blowing smoke up people's butt kind of time of the year here, and he was asked about what to do at the draft, and he said, "We're open to anything. We're in a good position sitting at 3 with the players that are available. By a process of elimination, we know we're going to get a good player. Regardless of what happens the next couple months, we know there's going to be a really good player there." Well, no, it doesn't mean anything because you didn't get one of the 2 quarterbacks potentially.
Yeah.
Not that he said we're in a horrible spot, and you could say that. Like, let's be honest, we're as Giant fans, a lot of us are like, God damn it, we're in a spot we're not guaranteed to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks. There's only 2 good quarterbacks. What are we gonna do? And he can't say that publicly. You can't. That'd be like setting yourself up for disaster at that point. And it tells
like saying
anybody to go pick ahead of you if they need a quarterback.
It's like, hey, there's only one crunchy peanut butter left, and I really want it. But the person ahead of you grabs that crunchy peanut butter. Now you're stuck with the cream peanut butter. How are you going to make your peanut butter jelly sandwiches?
With a goober.
Ew.
The goober is amazing. You give me that nice little grape and peanut butter swirl. Sign me up any day.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's really good. It's just not very soft to spread, but it's very good. Anyway, we're back to there. But like I said, he's got to say something like that publicly. I got to say that it's weird because of the way he worded it, because he didn't say anything about moving up or moving back. And that's the one thing as a Giant fan I would have liked to see him say is, hey, we're also open to moving. Who knows if we stay at 3? There's a reason you do that, even if you don't plan on moving. And that's just to open up the potential. That's just to make people think, okay, these guys might be willing to move. They don't love the quarterback if they're the quarterbacks, so they're looking to move back.
Exactly.
And instead they said, nope, we're going to sit there at 3. We're going to get a good player.
And listen, Drew, you know it. You know it as well as I do. That's part of sales 101. Like, hey, you know what? I want to move back. You're going to get options where you're not going to get the best options to move back. Or you say, I want to move forward. You're going to get some terrible sales to go up. Or you say, you know what? I'm satisfied where I'm at. And you got another team that goes, all right, we really want that 3 spot. Let's trade the house. Because we're afraid that the Giants are going to trade. Let's go. And then you take that sale as Joe Schoen goes, hey, this is what I'm getting from this team. What can you do?
And that's what I'm saying. I just would have liked him to see that it's an option. Like, listen, we're in a great position. We're a pick 3. We're guaranteed to get a good player if we stay there. Or who knows? Maybe look at options to move up or move down. Who knows? And keep more bland. I would have said it that way personally.
I'm okay with it. It's just like,
I'm not upset about it. I'm just saying it's the only knock I can give.
Yeah.
It's a very minor knock on the scenario.
Yeah, it's very minor knock. I'm okay.
And I'm
with just
definitely
that
biased.
very story.
I
Like,
don't want Joe Schoen to be a part of the Giants anymore.
yeah.
I will not hide my bias. It's there. Can't help it.
Listen, I guess well, if the Eagles stop Kansas City from a 3-goal,
oh god,
that's just more fuel for Mara to go. Cut it out.
It's too late. It's
It
too
is.
late.
But you're talking about halfway through the season. You're talking about like saying, "Oh, maybe let's keep it for year 5 or 6 because we make too much of a rash decisions. Like we move too fast. Like no, we just maybe something like that just might expedite the decision making."
Yep, I will say. We'll see. I don't trust it. I really just don't. I don't trust that these guys are gonna make the right decision. I've lost faith in them entirely. I'm a beaten, broken down man.
Yes,
So.
master. Yes, master.
Speak of people that have been beaten and broken down. Joe Schoen said he hopes to keep Mike Kafka. This is at the media section here at the Senior Bowl, which is going on right now down in Mobile, Alabama. He said there's a reason these teams continue to interview him for head coaching jobs. He's got a great reputation. I almost forgot. Put up the thing. Whoa, what was I doing?
Oh my god, what were you doing there?
I don't know. I was just slacking here. Anyway, he says he's got a great reputation not only in our building but around the league. Side note here. Hold on. Got a great reputation not only in our building. So he's got such a great reputation. You took away his play calling.
Yeah,
I have to throw that out there. I'm sorry. Anyway, he says a former player who played quarterback came up under Andy Reid, called plays in a playoff season his first year as an offensive coordinator. Pause. Timeout. Such a good job calling plays your playoff season that you took it away from him. I got to keep on saying it every time because it's all BS. It's all BS. Anyway, back on. Game on. Very detailed.
Game on.
Organized, smart coach, good leadership abilities. So selfishly, I hope he doesn't get the New Orleans job. But if he does, he's well deserving. He's a good coach, has a lot of ideas. Pause. Except play calling, apparently, because you took that away from him. I got to beat that dead horse. It's like I'm at working at Elmer's Glue Factory over here. So, we're going to get sued by Elmer's now. Oh, well. Sure, they all do. It's okay. He has smart, good leadership. We're fortunate to have him on our staff. Like I said, I get it. Like, you can't see something negative about him. Like, especially when the guy's out for a head coaching job. But don't sit there and he called plays in a playoff season. Like, yeah, and you took it away from him within 2 weeks of the new season. Like, how much faith did you have in his play calling ability? Like, he didn't wait till 5-6 weeks.
Or you have to question too. It's like, how early did they take away his play calling? Like,
that's what I'm
was
saying.
It halfway through the first season?
2.
And they said,
Week
like,
2.
No, I'm saying, like, when he started with the Giants, like, week 2.
No. The first year they've said it was all him. The first year was all him. There was no Daboll. I'm sure Daboll probably had like veto power, so to speak. But
yes, that's what I'm saying. So how much veto power did, like, towards the end of the season did Daboll say, "Oh, that's a nice play. You want to throw it? Yeah, no, we're going to run it here. Barkley. Oh, throw it again. Oh no, Barkley.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of what you got to keep in mind though too is at the end of the season. Again, remember we played really crappy defenses, like insanely bad defenses. Like we played the Vikings twice, including the playoffs. We played the Colts and destroyed the Colts that year as well towards the end of the season. And that definitely helped the offense look better than it actually was because we all have short-term memory. Like you can have a team that goes 6-0, hypothetically, and everything's firing all cylinders. And then can have a bunch of injuries and barely miss the playoffs. Like, oh, look, they were crap. It was a crappy year for them.
Yeah.
Their offense is bad. Their defense is bad. Like, that's the way it works. But, like, it's the reverse as well. If you look very good towards the end of the season, people remember you much more fondly than you actually were. I mean, let's be honest, that wasn't still a good offense. It was an offense we killed for last year, but overall, it's not a good offense still.
You guys just got hot at the right time.
Look at like Trevor Lawrence. That was a 22 the same year, I think, where he all of a sudden he hit like the second half of that season. It was that season. And like and it wins the one playoff game. Like, oh, Trevor Lawrence turned a corner. All of a sudden, Trevor Lawrence is good. He's figured it out. And then he went back to being poop again.
Well, in his fairness, he definitely played better the second year after that. Much better than.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's that year I'm talking about. That was his second year because 23 and 24, he was not good. 22, which is his first year with Doug Peterson, that was his year that he was good. And that was the second half of that year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No. So they didn't win a playoff game in 23, but they did go on a big winning. They won a lot of games in the second half of that season.
I don't remember that part. I remember 22, they won a whole lot of games. And then, like I said, I forget who they beat in a comeback win in the first round of the playoffs. I can't remember who that was. I want to say the Chargers. Was it the Chargers? Yeah, it was the Chargers. Okay. I remember Bosa being ticked off on the sidelines. It was the Chargers. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, that's the problem is people remember, I think, more better than it actually was because it wasn't a great offense. It was an average offense.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's like, woohoo. Like, imagine having fond memories about an average offense like that. How bad is that for us right now? Ooh, remember that year? We were average. Yeah. We were just as good as half the teams.
Yeah. Where we beat a really bad defense. Well, a bad defense where our defense just played better than theirs.
Yeah. I think that to me is a lot of media hype on his part there. You know, I will give him credit for trying to hype his man up who's up for a head coaching position. But let's be honest, Joe Schoen's probably in his head going, I want the draft picks. Hire him. I want the draft picks.
Yeah.
2 third-round picks. 2 third-round picks. Now, I will say there is some news on Kafka today as far as New Orleans Saints job. Mike McCarthy, obviously former Packers and Cowboys head coach, did take himself out of the running for that job. So also Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator, took himself out of the running for that job as well. So Kellen Moore is considered the favorite for that job as of right now. But the Saints cannot hire him until after the Super Bowl. So we're not going to know probably until, the end of, a week and a half from after the Super Bowl, what's going to happen as far as the Saints potentially, unless they decide to give it to Kafka and we find out much quicker. But, might be a little bit of time. So we'll see what happens there. But he's probably like second choice right now. Kellen Moore is probably number one.
Yeah, you also have to look at it too. It's like as Kellen Moore, like, do you want to take that terrible team on, or do you want to stay as a potential team that might go back to the Super Bowl and get the opportunity to go to possibly a better team next year?
It all depends. I mean, you don't get many shots to become a head coach in this league. That's part of it. Same as like Kafka, if I could say hypothetically he gets offered it, I would say to him it's not a good job to take. But at the same point, you don't get many opportunities.
But at the same point, Kafka at this point spent the past 3 years got opportunities at the head coach's job?
Well, he's had opportunities to interview. He hasn't gotten jobs. From what I hear, though, he's a very good interviewer, and that's why the people keep bringing him in. His interview, by the way, the rumor is that his interview is 9 hours with the Saints. 9 hours. Can you imagine a 9-hour interview?
How much coffee served at that meeting? God.
That's like more than a day shift usually at a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
I think the longest I've ever
had... intermission?
Intermission, you mean? Intermission.
Intermission.
Intermission. But I think the longest interview I ever had was like an hour and a half, and that's because I sat with multiple people at that job the same day. It was like 2 interviews in once, basically. But
I definitely had like an hour and a half to 2 hour interview before that, where I sat there and talked to a director, and we just connected at different levels where we talked about different things. Where half of the
they're having long walks together on the beach, and we connected on a different level. We had a picnic that evening.
You like combat sports? So do I.
Do you like hummus?
Yeah. It's got a Kafka joke.
What? Stay with X. Okay. Anyway, we do have more Kafka news here. So there is a rumor.
Rumor has it
that Kafka is the guy to make the play calls in 25, assuming he stays. He looks very confused in the picture, by the way, bad too. So this is from Paul Schwartz of the New York Post. He said, there's a strong sentiment inside the Giants building for head coach Brian Daboll to give up the play calling duties. And that sentiment has nothing to do with co-owner John Mara recently mentioning Daboll should at least consider doing that for the 2025 season. Hold on. Pause that. Can we call BS now? Daboll might give up play calling. It has nothing to do with the co-owner John Mayer recently mentioning Daboll. So, like, we're not supposed to correlate the fact that his boss just said recently he should give up play calling, and then he's like, maybe I should give up play calling.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think those two things have anything to do with each other?
Drew, hear me out. We're co-hosts here, but I'm your boss. You are no longer allowed to talk with your hands, as we're podcasting here. And when we talk with our hands,
I'm from Jersey. I can't help myself.
But let's put that out there. You're going to stop talking with hands because maybe you just want to stop talking with your hands.
I'm getting fired.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like
no, but it's like telling us we're supposed to correlate a drought with a lack of rain.
Yeah.
Like, that can't be it. The drought can't be caused by a lack of rain. Those correlations can't exist. Like, no, like, his boss just said it. Of course he's going to have to think about doing it. Anyway, Schwartz goes on to say, there's a feeling that by handing that responsibility back to offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, Daboll would be in a better position to manage the entire team, sitting in on defensive meetings and expanding his focus to make sure small details do not fall through the cracks. You know what my biggest takeaway from that is? Daboll would be in a better position to manage the whole team, sitting in on defensive meetings. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that Daboll was such a maniac about the offense that he wasn't doing anything with the defense? Because that's how I'm reading that.
Yep, that's a big concern.
Like, you're telling me that he was okay. But a minute ago, we were talking about Joe Schoen loves Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka is a great guy and great offensive mind. And I'm not even disputing. That's not the dispute here, whether or not Kafka is, because I think Kafka is actually underutilized by this team right now, point blank. But you're going to sit here and tell me that Mike Kafka was trusted so little by Brian Daboll that he was in all the offensive meetings and didn't sit in on defensive meetings. Because if that's the case, that's a goddamn issue. And again, it's a Daboll issue, not a Kafka issue. But at the same point, you got to sit there and say, that's a bad relationship. If you don't trust him enough to let him run the offensive meetings and be the guy in the room for the offensive meetings as the offensive coordinator, that's an issue. Big time.
Yep.
So,
especially if you're not sitting in a defensive spot, like let's be real. If you're a head coach, you're supposed to be in both those. But if you're such a power hungry, like offensive guru, you're allowing your defense to be sabotaged by your obsession with your terrible offense. Something to be said.
Not good. Not good at all. So, like I said, we've been vocal on this podcast about the fact that Mike Kafka should get play calling abilities back if he's not, off the squad, which is honestly, I think, probably the best for him. But it's a little late now to make that call. You made that call a couple weeks ago if you're going to make it. Assuming he sticks around and doesn't get the New Orleans job, because I do think that Kellen Moore is the favorite for New Orleans. Assuming that he doesn't get it, he should get play calling back. Point blank. Give him a chance to redeem himself, a redemption story, so to speak. Because it'd be a nice story, actually. Oh, we can play calling back to Kafka. We got a couple new quarterbacks in the room. Maybe got another weapon, because that's the room they're gonna go get another weapon, whatever that means. Jordan Ronan reported that. A significant weapon. And then all of a sudden the offense is good. It's gonna make Kafka look really good.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think Kafka's got the raw end of a lot of deals here in New York. So, I'm hoping the best for him. I really am. So, alrighty. Let's go ahead and pay the bills, guys, real quick.
Ooh.
It's Bills time. It's Bills time.
Bills.
Woo!
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
Alrighty, guys. And of course, as always, you can support the show by sending a super chat over here in YouTube land, or you can also go ahead and send stars over there in Facebook land as well. So, and the easy way, of course, the cheap way, the free way, and hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button, guys. We
Tell a friend.
a minimum of 3 shows a week, every single week throughout the year. So if you're a Giants fan that doesn't want to miss a beat with what's going on with New York Giants, we just want to sit here and sulk with the rest of us here and how bad the team is, then go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button, tell a friend. We suck at marketing, point blank. Without y'all doing the help, we would be in trouble. We'd be in trouble. So, and soon, I want to say what time, because Rob and I are working on something together, but we're going to have a goofball store up and running, I think, soon as well for you guys here. So not only just goofball gear, but basically also some Giants related stuff that, you know, the Giants themselves would never put out. Just saying. Things that might be mocking the Giants or other teams or both. So, like I said, keep an eye out for that. So, and let's get back here to the show here. We got a couple comments to go over, guys, before we go ahead and get on to the next topic here. I got to put this up though, because Deb just put this up. Goofballs are cheaper than therapy. Yes, we are. We are. Though I'm not sure we're quite as licensed, but you know, that's a whole separate issue. See, Hirsch for Real says, "Hello, fellas. What's up?" It says Shade and Daboll must also have to draft a QB to buy them time in their jobs. Yes, I think that's pretty safe to say they're going to have to do it, because it's the only thing that could. Again, if it's a playoff or bust, like I've heard, there's no way they're going to get into the playoffs this year, guys. Coming up, I'm sorry. And I would have said that back in 22 as well, and I think you and I actually did say that 22 we probably wouldn't. We were right on pretty much the record, but I think we said we'd be like borderline, we wouldn't get in. Like the chance of going to third overall pick to playoff team is not very high typically. You know,
normally.
Now without a major addition, like a Tom Brady kind of addition to the Bucks, or like this year with Jaden Daniels to the Commanders, you know, but those don't grow on trees. Kenneth Perkins says, "What's up? What's up, man?
What's up?"
Otis says, "Fire Joe Haim. It's too late. We can't do it. We should have already." Yeah. Xavier Baker says, "Jackson Dart," with a little
dart,
like a little bullseye thing there. It was like, but it's weird. Like the emoji looks like it's like a rocket going into a bullseye. Like,
no, it's a dart into bullseye.
Was it? It looks like a rocket on my end here. Yeah. Connor says, "Empty trunk to get spare, lift up cover, no spare, so front tire." What are you doing? Ball flat. What can I do now? Nearest tire place 15 miles away. Need used or cheap new tire. Can't remove tire off rim myself. So we're giving car advice now too, Connor, huh? So yes, the easiest thing to do would be, first off, I recommend everybody, as somebody who was worked in the automotive repair industry for a number of years here. First off, check your spare tire on a regular basis. Make sure it has air, because I can't tell you people have no air in their spare and don't realize it. Whenever you get a new vehicle, check to see if you have a spare tire, because a lot of cars do not have a spare tire. If they do not have a spare tire, make sure you have an inflator in your car. Worst case scenario, fix a flat, but fix a flat is only the last case option, because once you put it in, you cannot fix that tire. But in your case, Connor, what I would recommend is call up your insurance company, see if you have any kind of roadside assistance. A lot of them, it's very, very cheap. Get it towed to the local shop at that point, and there you go. Done.
Or if you have AAA, boom.
Well, AAA, whatever, some kind of towing service. But I'm saying I can't see people have it with their car insurance and don't even realize they have it.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people that have roadside assistance.
They have a roadside assistance and AAA, because they double pay because they haven't realized they have it. So anyway, as he says, did all that with 20-mile-an-hour wind for nothing. Is it windy up there in Jersey today?
It is. There were scale of forces earlier today, which is 40 plus miles. That's not just that crazy ex-girlfriend of yours.
Well, crazy ex-girlfriend of mine. I have too many crazy ex-girlfriends to know which one you're referring to. Can you be more specific?
Gail.
I have an ex-girlfriend named Gail, but okay. Anyway, yeah, it's nice and 70 degrees and nice and sunny here in Florida, so it's nice. Deb says Bobby Skinner and Justin were at the Senior Bowl day 1 and day 2. Disappointed in QB's practicing. Said Milroe was just awful and Dart was disappointing. Dillian Gabriel lit it up both days. And guys, first off, if you don't know who she's talking about, those the duo from Talking Giants. Definitely a show we recommend. Friends of the show there. We've been on their show. We've had Bobby on ours before. So definitely recommend them as a good program to watch. And probably, to be honest, the top-rated Giants podcast out there. Much I'd love to say it's us. It's not. It's them. But I hadn't watched their report yet. But yeah, what they're saying is what Rob and I have been saying on this show before, without even going to the Senior Bowl. Milroe is not a good passer. Even his own receivers are giving him looks for the passes he did last year. And we talked about, remember when we talked about Jermaine Burton last year in the draft, and we said he's been hampered by bad quarterback play? Guess who that quarterback was? Jalen Milroe. And I feel like he's a great runner. He's a great athlete. I don't think he's a good quarterback. And I think he's somebody that, should be probably looked at as a guy you might try to convert because he's an athlete. You give him a shot to play quarterback. If it doesn't work out, you make him an athlete. I mean, let's not forget Lamar Jackson was somebody that people talked about moving from quarterback as well. So you don't want to just point blank say you're not a quarterback and you're done. But if you draft him, you got to have a backup plan for what you're going to do if he's that bad. I do think he falls in that category. Now, Gabriel, what she says here, neither want Gabriel though. We've talked about him as a guy that could be a late round, mid round guy that you develop and see what you can make out of him. I think in the right system, he could be a potentially productive quarterback in this league. How productive, I don't know. I'm not going to make some bold, crazy claim, but I think he'll have a nice, decent career. How far that career goes, I don't know. He could be a backup his whole career. He could be a low to mid range starter for all I know. We're going to find out. But he's a guy that if he's available third, fourth round, and the Giants haven't gotten a quarterback yet, he's a guy I'd be interested in. And I actually like him over Dart. I'm going to say that point blank, and I'll probably get some hate for that because I know there's people that like him a lot. I will probably get some hate for that. But I like him over Jackson Dart. And Deb also says he is 5'10", too short. And I get that part of it there. But when you got guys like Bryce,
with 5'10",
you got Bryce Young, you got Doug Flutie, you got Drew Brees. I'm not saying that 5'10" isn't an issue, but I'm not going to sit there and say that guys that short can't be quarterbacks either. Look at Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is probably that height. That's what I'm saying. It's not one or two guys. There's a bunch of guys you can sit there and say don't fit that height requirement. He's 5'11", by the way. Russell Wilson, I had to look it up. 5'11".
Yeah, when he puts socks in his cleats.
Yes. So, like I said, and again, I'm not saying he's a sure thing. He's a guy that I'd be willing to take a risk on later on if you're able to get him as like an early day 3 kind of pick. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm glad to see that they're agreeing with us, even though they actually got to see him in person and we didn't. We didn't have to travel all the way to Alabama. See, we got this.
Yeah. We got that footage out there.
And the Dakota says, Sky King, I'm just a regular guy, just a little broken. Is that from a movie or something? I feel like it's got to be from a movie or something. I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know why. Deb says, is it typical for teams to hire head coaches before GMs? I always thought the GM would pick a head coach. It definitely is typical to hire the GM and then the head coach. That's for sure. But depends on who you want. Sometimes you just want the coach so bad you're willing to do that and then pick a GM that's going to work with him well. There's neither one. There's no set rule. So, but I will say this is that you can limit yourself on what GMs might be interested if you don't give them a chance to have a say in the head coach.
That's 100% facts.
You also might get some head coaches, though, the candidates that don't want to go interview with you because they don't know who they're working with. Like, can you imagine that's the
Yeah.
scenario? Like, hey, I got this great job for you. I want to throw it at you quickly as soon as it's available. I have no clue who you're going to work under, but
Like,
you're going to love it. Yeah.
Like,
Things that make you go,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, alrighty. We got 2 more segments here for you guys tonight. So, let's talk about the aforementioned Jackson Dart, who called the Giants a smooth transition. Not to be confused with the smooth criminal.
The smooth criminal.
That's like the best cover song of all time, by the way. Anyway, obviously.
MJ is the real.
What?
So MJ. Michael Jackson. MJ.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So anyway, Jackson Dart talked about his relationship with the Manning family. Because keep in mind, Archie Manning played at Ole Miss. Eli Manning played at Ole Miss. Sometimes you forget when a player is in the NFL for a long time that they came from somewhere before. So on the Manning family, he said, my relationship first started with them when I first got there, talking about Ole Miss. They were one of the first families to reach out to me, and it's been special how our bond and connection has been able to grow throughout my time there. Doing different events with them, and at the same time, them coming to games, shooting good luck text, and going to the Manning camp was also an amazing experience. They've been a huge asset to me, and I look forward to continuing to build a relationship with them. Now, Eli, talking about Dart. Now, keep in mind, Eli Manning has point blank offered to help the Giants look for a quarterback, by the way.
Oh.
So,
well then.
Keep that in mind when I say that. Eli said, I like Jackson Dart. I probably watched him more than anybody just from watching Ole Miss games. I've been around him, and he's a great kid. Been in the same offense for 3 years and been successful. Seen him grow and progress and seems to be able to make all the throws. Yeah. Like I said, I like it. I'm not anti-Jackson Dart. Let me be very clear on that. I know we've talked about before how I've said that Jackson Dart is a guy that, wasn't exactly one of my top guys. I honestly have him as quarterback 4, I think, at this point. And
he's definitely top 5 for me.
We haven't done our final rankings yet. I don't want to sit there and go to people like, oh, what about so-and-so? Like, I'll do my final rankings, and you'll do yours, Rob, and we'll figure it out where we're at and give the goofball top 10. But in my head right now, it goes Ward, Sanders, Gabriel, and then Dart. Again, I like Gabriel a lot more than other people do. I'll admit that freely.
You do. I have to evaluate more of the talent. I definitely am Ward front, Sanders second. I'm high in Dart, but I don't know. Like when it comes to like these second round guys, like I just like Monroe, like I'm up. Like I like some of the footage I see. Like I have to really dive in and look at the footage and like just talk about what we were talking about 40 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago. Hey, what is this guy doing right before the interception? Like, what is he doing right before he gets sacked? What is he doing? Like, I've only seen highlights, so like I don't want to give a biased opinion off of something of highlights.
Yeah. And like I said, we're gonna have to do a lot more, obviously, as we get closer and closer to the draft here. We'll probably start doing that pretty quickly there. But yeah, it's definitely an issue that you're gonna for people at times with some of the things that you see with Dart. And we've talked about it before, the accuracy issues, the reading defense issues. It's can you fix it? But anyway, Dart.
But also that interrupted real fast, but like we just talked about Allen before with 52% point whatever as a completion rate in college, and look at him now. Do look like the Winter Soldier a whole year. Amazing, just so accurate, so good. That could be Dart. Dart could also be a bust, be out of the league in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Dart will have a decent career in this league. I really do. I think he's going to be a backup, though, is where I think personally. Like I said, and I could be wrong. I got nothing against the kid, and I still need to do more homework on all these guys. I've got to the point where I've watched a couple of games for most of the big top ones there, just to have a good feel for everything going on, along with both doing that and watching highlights there. But for some, especially the bigger names there, the Ward Sanders specifically, I'm gonna, Woody, before we get into our full deep dive on the players, I'm gonna watch every single game, not just this year, but I'll probably go back into the other years as well, and see what's going on, because it's just, you have to. But like I said, I feel like Dart is that guy that I look, from what I've seen so far, the anticipation's not there. The defense, he's having trouble reading them so far. That's just in college. So I gotta see.
Harder.
Yeah, I gotta see some of that, and maybe I'll see some of that as I watch more and more film on him. Who knows? But or maybe it's something I see where I go, okay, well, you can train him to pick up this and learn this, but we'll have to see what happens. But anyway, the whole the whole point of the topic was what he said after, what Jackson Dart said afterwards, talking about the Giants, and he said it would be a smooth transition. And I said partially because of the fact that he has this relationship with the Mannings, and I think that's something that I don't think enough people have talked about really too, as well, is that here's a guy that literally has been around one of the biggest voices you trust in that building for years now. I think the Giants probably have a very good idea of what they think of Jackson Dart because of the Eli Manning and Manning family relationship with him 100%. And it's funny because remember when Daniel Jones came out, of college there, and I was like, oh, this is the Manning guy. This is the same coach as Manning, and Manning's have a relationship with them. And they were blowing that down our throats like you wouldn't believe at that point there. And they didn't talk about that with Jackson Dart, which I feel weird. I don't know how to think about that, but it's like, why is that not being talked about enough? Where they can be like, oh, well, Mannings have a great relationship. Jackson Dart would be their guy. Like they've said, that's not coming out yet. And that makes me believe that either it's going to come out later on, but at this time of the year, back when we drafted Daniel Jones, that was already coming out. But back then, we were already hearing that, and we're not hearing it yet. So it makes me think either it's going to come out, or behind closed doors, Eli's like, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, or, I mean, that's what I say. It could go either way. Like, they're like, oh, this is a great guy, and they don't want to hype him where the Giants have to pay too much capital to get him in the draft.
Yeah.
Or the complete opposite.
Yeah.
He could be your possible backup. He could be your next DeVito.
I think wherever he goes, he's going to get a chance to start, and if he fails there, he'll be a career backup after that for somebody else. That's probably the truth of with Dart. But we'll see. I mean, I honestly wouldn't even be shocked if somebody takes him in the latter end of the first round, and he sneaks into the first round, because there are teams that really want to get first round quarterbacks to get that 5th-year option. And if you think he's worth it, and you have a chance, let's say the Chiefs or Eagles are coming up. Oh, I lost Rob. He disagreed with me that much. But let's say the Chiefs, the Eagles are coming up, and you get a chance to go ahead and draft him, and you like him, and he's your guy, then you would want to draft him, get that extra year, get that 5th-year option. You only get that if you draft him in the first round. So, like I said, I think he'll kind of get, sneak his way into the end of that first round at the very latest. Maybe it's a Bo Nix situation. He ends up going, top 10 or, mid first round even at that point, because people get that desperate for a quarterback. It happens every single draft, every single one. So, all righty, guys, one more segment, and then we're going to get to the last of your questions and comments here that I see some more going on there. So, last thing we got to talk about is, we talked a little bit about Jalen Milroe today, but CBS Sports has Jalen Milroe to the Giants at 3. That's a little crazy, guys. Again, that's the latest mock draft CBS Sports had, where they had the Raiders trading up to get Shedeur Sanders first overall. The Browns then took Cam Ward at number 2. And that caused the Giants to go ahead and draft Jalen Milroe with the 3rd overall pick in the draft, guys. I'm telling you right now, if that happens, I will not be throwing up a little in my mouth. I'll be spewing all over my entire living room. Well, I should say I'll be here with you guys. I'll be on the computer doing it, probably ruin my equipment, but that is absolutely goddamn ridiculous to even think that somebody would draft him 3rd overall. I'm sorry, but that is utterly ridiculous. And I know the Giants really need a quarterback, obviously. We talk about it so often with you guys. We all know it. Giants need a quarterback. But you can't get that quarterback with the 3rd overall pick. You want to get him in the 2nd round? Okay. I won't like it. But I always go, okay, he's the 2nd round grade for a lot of people. I get it. They must see something they like about him. You get him at the 3rd overall pick. Oh my God. I would be flipping out like when we drafted DJ. I'm telling you. Absolutely flipping out. Because I don't think he's that good. And B, I think he'd be available later on. You could have traded down and still got him. I'm a bit confused by why CBS Sports thinks that. I feel like this is a situation where CBS Sports was looking at what happened last year. And going, look at this. We said Bo Nix would be a 2nd round pick. We said that Michael Penix would be a 2nd round pick. We said that JJ McCarthy would be a mid 1st round pick. And instead, you sat there and had these guys go so quickly, it's not even funny. I mean, absolutely ridiculous there. All of those guys were gone after the 12th pick when Bo Nix was taken. There was 6 quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks. And I think that's what they're looking at and going, okay, well, the team's going to be a little desperate again and be worried that this guy won't be around in the 2nd round at that point to get him. Let's go get him now while we still can. But I can't imagine that 3rd overall pick for a guy like Jalen Milroe, who's got so much trouble throwing the ball, it's not even funny. It'd be one thing if he had trouble with some of the mechanics and you go, okay, I can fix that kind of scenario. But that's not what I'm seeing with him. What I'm seeing is flat out issues throwing the ball. 3rd overall pick for a guy like that would be a major issue for me. And I'd be flipping the hell out. And I'm sure, like I said, we'll be on here for the draft this year, obviously. And I'm sure you guys will be flipping out with us. But this is definitely a scenario.
With Jalen, yeah.
Yeah, we will be flipping out like crazy if he goes 3rd overall to the Giants. Like we will have a complaining fest like you would not believe. This will be the craziest show we've ever had here. Talking about Jalen Milroe potentially going 3rd overall. We'd be flipping out like you would.
It'd be worse than Evan Neal.
No, Evan Neal, we were good with. We liked that pick. Let's not even too revisionist history. We loved that pick. That's what I'm saying. I'm comparing it to like Daniel Jones. It'd be Daniel Jones all over again, just 3 picks higher.
I was going to say even worse.
Yeah, because you'd still have plenty of people there. It'd be like take Josh Allen, that kind of scenario. Like, that Hines Allen, whatever, But we would have said that same thing. Would have said take the kid from Penn State, take the corner from Michigan, take there's plenty of people you could have taken that are better than Jalen Milroe. Will Johnson, like I said, been a better option than Jalen Milroe. Abdul Carter, better option than Jalen Milroe. Travis Hunter, better option than Jalen Milroe. I'm really hoping that's just them shooting in the dark saying, oh, he'll have the quarterbacks taken last year. And nothing more inside information because that would be horrendous. Absolutely horrendous.
Absolutely.
All righty here. We got a lot of comments here from John Wilrow here. So we're going to go by him real quick here. He's been lighting up the keyboard like crazy here. He said, Daboll wants Mac Jones. Was his favorite quarterback at Alabama. He couldn't pick Mac because Daniel Jones would feel threatened. Jones is now gone. I don't know if he did or didn't. We've talked about Mac Jones as a guy I wouldn't mind picking up if we want a veteran quarterback either. And it's not my choice, don't get me wrong. But he's the guy you could bring in to be your quarterback to go along with the Sanders or Ward and not have to be forcing the rookie out there to start the season. But at the same point, he won't play good enough that you go, oh, maybe we got to like. It won't be like a situation with Sam Darnold this year. Like it won't be that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's.
No, I'm wrong. It wouldn't be. I wouldn't be upset if that scenario happened.
Be more like it'd be a way cheaper Kirk Cousins situation.
I wanted Kirk Cousins a better quarterback than him, but still, I mean,
I would say like the guy that's not going to make it through the year.
No, I mean it's not. His issues aren't even injury related. His issues is just. I still think it's because they what they did to him in New England. I mean, he had a good first year with Josh McDaniels. Let's be honest, people like the pick the first year, and then they allowed Joe Judge and Matt Patricia get to him. That's the problem. So he says then Jackson Dart is so limited, sort of like Mac Jones, but he has 5 years less NFL experience. He says Dart is third, but I respect it. Like I said, I get it. Some people, I don't know, a lot of people have Dart that high like that. I just have some issues with some of the stuff that I think that Gabriel doesn't have, though he has the height issue. He says, good point. Need to watch tape, not be as highlights. I don't. And then he says, too much of a personality with no on-field juice. I'm not sure who you're referring to with that one there, but he says, if you're not winning the Heisman with Lane Kiffin, imagine having Mike Kafka. That's obviously Jackson Dart thing. He says, best play caller in college. It gets harder. And then what did he say? Oh, it's okay. He said, here's my question for you, bud. Are you picking him because you like him, or are you picking him because he's a good quarterback? Daniel Jones sucked balls and was friends with Manning. Yeah, like I said, that's where we're at. It's not gonna. They're not gonna put him out there specifically because the Mannings like him. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
And then he says, Matt Corral is what I see. Here's my question. When you watch Matt Corral, he had better stats at everything than Dart. And yeah, he was out of the league within a year. So let's see here. He says, talk about Jalen Murray. He said he's so bad, so bad. And I'm an Alabama fan. Yeah, they're throwing it at the wall and hoping it sticks. Yeah. Calls him Anthony Richardson. So yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think that's why that scenario was. I think it was just because there were so many quarterbacks taken. So, all righty, guys. That's going to call it a night for us here.
Ooh.
We're going to be back again, though, of course, tomorrow night. Keep in mind, this is our back-to-back nights here. So tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be on live talking more about the latest Giants news here for you. We still have a couple of positions to go over, doing a review of all the players from last season as well. So we still have the secondary and special teams guys to go over. So be on the lookout for that to be coming whenever we have a slower news day. And, of course, we have more to go over as far as free agency, more draft news, all kinds of news coming out there. So, again, guys, if you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button there. Tell a friend. Help us out there. Tell a friend. Tell a friend. Of course, as always, we are live every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Twitch, and, of course, Rob's favorite my LinkedIn profile. And, of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms as well. Of course, it's Spotify, Apple, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon, all the big ones there. So if you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe button there, guys. We'll see you guys again tomorrow night. Appreciate you guys, as always, for watching, and your continued support of the show. It means a lot to us. And, of course, as always, Giant fans, go G-Man! Go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please,